Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're joining us today to hear about AP Computer Science principles. We have invited students and parents, counselors, teachers to this informational session tonight to help you make really good decisions about whether or not AP Computer Science principles will fit into your schedule for next year or maybe the year following, whenever it fits in to your schedule. We have a great group of panelists tonight, former students that took AP Computer Science principles that are high school students as well as college students that are going to help share their stories to help maybe you decide for whether or not this course is really for you. So my name is Crystal Furman, and I am the director for AP Computer Science Principles here at the College Board. I am a former high school teacher. I taught AP Computer Science for 17 years, and I help students make the decision to take AP Computer Science A and AP Computer Science Principles while I was a high school teacher. And so I'm grateful to be able to be here tonight to represent teachers everywhere and talk to you about this class. So what are we going to do tonight? We are going to talk about who students talk to when they're trying to make a decision about taking this course, because we've got some research that I want to share that is kind of the jumping off point for why we're having this session tonight. We're going to make sure that you all understand what is computer science, the benefits of taking computer science principles, a little bit about the course and exam details, and then we're going to hear from a panel. So I know the panel is probably the most exciting part, so I'm going to probably go through my section relatively quickly. There is a Q&A section, so if you have questions for me or you have questions for the panelists or the AP program in general, please put your questions in there and we will answer those throughout this evening. So let's get started. So who do students talk to about computer science courses or AP courses in general? So for the last several years, we have been surveying AP Computer Science Principles students, and we've asked them, who do you talk to about this course before you enroll? And these answers that are blocked here in red are the top answers. So they talk to their parents or their guardians. They talk to other computer science principles students, either ones that have previously taken computer science principles or ones that are currently considering enrolling in computer science. And they talk to the computer science teacher. So tonight, what we're planning to do is we're planning to help parents and guardians have good information so they can have those really great conversations with their child about AP Computer Science principles. We've got this great panel that are going to represent the students that you want to hear from, and then me as the former AP Computer Science teacher. And the thing that I think is maybe a little alarming is this middle section in the middle there that says, I did not talk to anyone before enrolling in AP Computer Science principles. That could be for a variety of reasons. Some schools.
Sorry, everyone. There's some tech issues going on. Just quickly, my name is Sean Jenkins. I work with Crystal Furman and at College Board, and part of my role is to help expand access to the AP program. Crystal manages all of our academic content, works directly with teachers. I get a chance to work with some really amazing students, and I'm excited to get a chance to put them front and center. So here we've gathered a group of 6 students who both are either college or high school students, and they have taken computer science principles in the past and have agreed to come and share with you a little bit about who they are and their story. So we're going to do a quick round of introductions. Would love for our panelists to go around and share their name, their high school or college, their major or intended major, and also the state that you are from. Ephraim, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go around the circle.
All right. Hi, everyone. So my name is Ephraim. I go to Lawrence High School in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, and I'm a senior. My intended major for college is going to be computer science, and I hope to also earn a minor in business or a certificate in entrepreneurship.
Excellent. Thank you. Fanuel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fanuel. I live in Hoover, Alabama, and I go to Hoover High School. I'm a junior. My intended major is either computer science or software engineering.
Excellent. Sahana.
Hi, my name is Sahana Anand. I go to Troy High School in Fullerton, California. I'm a senior currently, and my intended major is most likely computer science.
Excellent. Cheryl.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Wing, and I also go to Troy High School in Fullerton, California. I'm a senior there, and I hope to major in mechanical engineering and hopefully have a minor in computer science.
Excellent. Joseph.
Hello, everyone. I am a second-year computer science student at Western Carolina University, which is in North Carolina. I also have a minor in mathematics as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. And close us out, Sarah.
All right. I'll give you my full path. I went to Edmond Memorial High School in Oklahoma. I did my undergrad at Pepperdine in California, where I majored in biology and minored in computer science. And then now I'm working on a PhD at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in bioinformatics and computational biology.
Lovely. So before we move to the first question, I just wanted to remind everyone who is listening, if you have a question, feel free to add it to the question bank, and I see a lot of folks have done that. We're going to go through a series of questions that we've prepared, and then toward the end, we'll make sure that everyone has time to, that we'll have some time to sort of go to the audience questions. So for our first question, Joseph, I'm going to go to you. Can you just tell us, what is your computer science story? What motivated you to take AP Computer Science principles, and what are some of the lessons you learned along the way?
Okay, so yeah, I guess this kind of started in my sophomore year of high school. I initially wanted to be like a detective and go into criminal justice. So that was kind of like my set goal or my set mindset at that time. And I also had an ambition for computers. I like to play games and I like to build computers and whatnot. So I had this APCSP class at my school. So I decided to take it, and I was like, this is kind of cool. Maybe I can get into computer science a little bit. At first, I had no idea what it was. And it was very difficult for me to grasp concepts. But even though I struggled through APCSP, I had my sister and friends there to motivate me and kind of get my gears going. And as well as my teacher who helped me with the concepts and nail those down. And I had a really tough time, I'd say more than other students, just trying to work through CSP. But at the very end, I learned problem solving skills and how to think abstractly and in different ways, how I normally would before I took the class. So, yeah.
And the things that you did not mention is that you also took Computer Science A.
Yes.
And talk to me a little bit about that, right? So you talk about you struggled, but despite struggling, you decided to continue with the struggle. What was the motivation in taking more advanced courses beyond the?
I guess, yeah. So I guess before or after that, I was like, man, that was really tough. And so I had my sister there to motivate me, as I said before. So she was in the class with me, and so I was just trying to beat her, who could get the highest grade on the AP exam, which she ended up getting the highest grade, unfortunately. But I found out at the very end that I actually have ambition for computer science and that I liked it a lot. And so I took CSA, and I enjoyed it even more. And so that's when I knew I wanted to major in computer science. And here I am 3 years later, majoring in computer science and I'm a teaching assistant and a computer science tutor at my university. So, yeah.
I love that so much. So what I hear is sort of a story of persistence, but also a story of I was really motivated and curious about this subject. And I didn't let sort of a difficult content sort of prevent me from continuing to work really hard at it. Yeah, I love that. Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, so I have always been interested in science, and I was really interested in biology. And I found myself my junior year, I had an extra elective in high school and thought, I'll just take computer science. It sounds like fun. So I really knew nothing about it going in. Computer science at my high school was a class that was really for everyone. And I think it's that way basically everywhere. But we had everyone from freshmen to seniors there. We had people who had taken AP classes before, people who had never done that before. And I had no idea what it was. Our teacher asked us on the first day what we were hoping to learn. And I said, oh, I really like Excel and PowerPoint. So learning tips and tricks would be cool. And she said, well, this is more about programming. So I hope you still enjoy that. And I just had a lot of fun in the class and ended up taking AP Computer Science A the following year. And I really realized that I wanted to be a programmer and continue doing that through what I was really interested in. So I still loved biology, and I ended up still majoring in biology. But what I do now, this field of computational biology, is where I can develop software to still explore biological questions and do research in something that I really love.
I love that. So part of what I hear you saying is like, you don't have to want to be a computer science engineer or something that's like just computer science for the rest of your life. There are other ways that experience and those skills can be useful to you in the thing that you choose to do in your career. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can really incorporate it into anything.
Yeah, that's great. Sahana, let's go to you.
So I have taken both computer science principles and computer science A. So originally, computer science principles was a mandatory class at my school because it's a magnet school. And so I took it my freshman year, and it gave me exposure to computer science in a way that was way different than what I had previously experienced. Because in my middle school computer science classes, we worked with coding like link bots and vex robots with like block coding, which is what I thought computer science principles would be like. But it's actually a lot different, and it sort of exposed me to like this broader spectrum of what computer science actually is and how much potential there is for you to grow in like such like a broad field. So what I've noticed is my school has enabled a lot more girls to take these computer science courses, but something else that I noticed was that all of the girls in these classes, they sort of like huddle together and they sort of end up in like one row, and that's it. There's only like maybe like 10 girls in the class, and they all sit in the same row, and that's it. And that makes it a little bit weird to ask questions sometimes, because I sort of felt like I was like an odd one out, and I felt like I needed to like already know everything, and that, but that's not really what school is for. School is for learning and growing. And so throughout my high school experience and throughout like growing in computer science, I realized that there is a space for women especially to learn and grow, even if you might feel that you are like sort of one of a few. There's still space, and there's still a lot of people who are there to help you learn. And one specific experience that happened to me was sort of, there was a guy in one of my classes who came over to my group and asked how like we coded one part of the project because they didn't know how to do it. And one of my male group members told him to ask me because I was the one who had worked on that part of the project. Yet he didn't really want to ask me. He was like, oh, if she can do it, then I can do it. And I felt sort of like demeaned in that sense. And so this is something that a lot of women in computer science have to deal with. And it's not great, but what I've learned through like my 4 years of being in the computer science pathway at my school is that there are way more people who are there who are excited to see you grow and who are there to help you. And so, yeah, I've learned that in computer science, it's important to be persistent, and there's so much potential for you to grow in that field.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. One thing that we noticed when we were doing registration is that we actually have more female students who have registered. So I love that you have a space to sort of talk to a really broad audience about some of the both experiences and the ways that you sort of overcame and managed some of those difficulties. So thank you for sharing that. We're going to move on to our next question. And Ephraim, I'm going to go to you. Would love for you to talk to us a little bit about, was there ever a time where you were not sure if being in the computer science field was a space for you? And what maybe did you try to do to combat some of those feelings and experiences?
Yeah, so I'll definitely say like being a Hispanic and low income and first generation student kind of can sometimes take a toll on you mentally when you're kind of heading into these courses. So for me, especially, I guess what I learned to do while I was in computer science was like kind of learn how to advocate for myself and really show my abilities in certain things where people may doubt me in. So I think one of the most important things I learned while I was taking these computer science courses was kind of learning to just trust in myself and kind of, despite what others may think of like things based on like stereotypes, is kind of like fight through that. And I think it's really important for others as well that might be kind of intimidated by the fact of taking an AP course, especially one like in CS, where we see this field kind of like sometimes for minorities be especially kind of difficult. I think it's important for them to know like there'll be support for you. You'll be able to make it through, and you'll learn something from it. So again, just advocating for yourself and really just learning to adapt in these kind of situations that may present themselves again in the future. I think that's something really important.
Yeah, I love this notion of support. Are there particular supports that you sought or that you had available to you that really made a difference for you being successful in your computer science classes?
Yeah, so I think my teacher was really helpful in like supporting me through, I guess, different parts of the class. And I think one of the first things I did when I went into the course was kind of develop my like friend group that I knew I could be comfortable around. And that kind of really allowed me to expand and be able to share some of my ideas to the class, like as a whole. So just finding your comfort in that small group, I think really helps you develop those abilities to share out and again, advocate for yourself and in those like larger groups when the time comes for that.
So I hear find your people, I hear advocate for yourself, and I hear rely on your teacher and or other resources that are available to you. Oh, lots of head nods. Is this a common set of advice that we want to share out? Yeah, we agree with that. Anyone else want to chime in on this thought before I move to Cheryl to share some of her thoughts? All right, Cheryl.
So similar to,
go for it.
Okay. So similar to what Sahana was saying is that like, because that I was like a female in STEM, sometimes I have like this one traumatic experience from like my junior year that is kind of like the only time I've ever felt like really like I didn't belong in CS. But besides that, because I went to such a STEM heavy school, there's like a lot of people that are really open and like welcoming. So to combat that, I feel like one of the biggest things that we did was just find your community, like everyone said. So for example, I'm in a club called G-Tech that tries to get more females into STEM. So because of what I experienced and the person also kind of harassed a non-binary student in robotics, G-Tech and robotics kind of work together to try to do like Girls Who Code, which is a program that tries to get more girls into coding. And it's really interesting to see all of these community efforts to better like the inclusion of that. And I feel like if you ever feel like you don't belong, yeah, find your community and then talk to your teachers.
So I want to sort of come back to this point of this club that y'all started, because not only did you find your community, but you also demonstrated a really strong sense of leadership, right? You recognized that there was a gap, that your school didn't offer something that you and the other students around you needed. So you went and you started a club, right? That is so powerful to be able to find your own leadership within a difficulty like that. And sort of, I hope you take a second to pat yourself on the back for that kind of, for demonstrating that leadership and identifying opportunities for making your community a better place. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So want to move on a little bit. Would love to talk about the course specifically and some of the things that we loved and some of the things that were challenging about CSP. So Fenwell, would love to start with you. What are some of the things that really stood out to you that made CSP a great course, a special course? And then also, what was like challenging about it?
One thing I really liked about taking CSP was, as everybody else has said, having community. One thing I really wanted to stress about computer science principles was the fact that you can learn soft skills, which basically are skills that you can acquire that can transfer through any field of study. Like if you want to go into something that isn't CS, I still believe that CSP is a great class to take. So two things I learned especially were problem solving and collaboration. So as a programmer, you go through a lot of roadblocks, but with CSP, you're able to learn how to get over those bumps in like your program or your projects that you're doing and how to overcome like that kind of difficulty. And another huge part of computer science principles was collaboration. Building community is very important because with the opinions of others, like you can really build up your program and acquire knowledge from the people around you. And like working with other people is better than working on your own because you can kind of bounce off each other. And that was one thing I really liked about taking CSP was that my friends around me who either knew more about CS or maybe knew less about CS, we could all collaborate and figure out like a solution to our problem or different solutions to one problem. And then another thing that I found kind of challenging about CSP was vocabulary. It's kind of a heavy part of the class, but if you study it over and over again, it's very great. Like it's great to know for the exam because vocabulary takes up a decent part of the questions. So just studying them over and over again, flashcards. I know for my class, we had it in the back of our notebook and we would go over it. We'd have quizzes. So just test yourself every week just on the new vocab words. Give yourself like a set, maybe 10 words per week, and then just study it over and over again. And it'll really help you on the exam.
Thank you. Cheryl, do you want to jump in on what was the coolest and also the most challenging parts of AP Computer Science Principles?
Yeah, so I think the coolest part of computer science principles, similar to what Manuel said, is collaboration. The fact that you like can work together. And I don't know if you guys heard, but like in colleges, like in CS majors, a lot of them always do homework together because it's that hard that you kind of need all these like brain power together. And what I find the most difficult is debugging. So if you don't know what debugging is, it's when the code doesn't work and you're trying to like sort through all these lines of like code just to find this like one small error that's like breaking your entire program. So I think the best example is comp-sci principles create task. So for that project, you're supposed to work in a group, or we were allowed to work in a group and create a program that you wanted to create out of any language that you wanted to use. So I worked with 2 other people, so like a group of 3, and then we couldn't decide on one idea to settle on. So we decided to make this carnival style game with like a bunch of mini games. So like everyone could contribute their own idea to it. And it was really interesting to see like everyone's ideas come together in one cohesive project. And as I was saying, how the most difficult part of computer science was debugging, working with other people, they can like look over your code and like a fresh set of eyes is usually really helpful in finding like mistakes. So the most difficult part can be solved by the best part of computer science principles.
Thank you for mentioning the create performance task. So Crystal's going to talk about this a little bit when we get a chance to go back to her. One of the things that's unique about AP Computer Science Principles is that in addition to the sort of traditional AP exam, there's also a project that students have to complete either in groups or individually, as Cheryl mentioned, and it's an opportunity for students to design their own project using their skills, but like they get to design their own thing. So in the spirit of creativity and design, I would love for a couple of folks to share some of the cool things that they've done using their computer science education. And Farewell, I would love to start with you. What's like the coolest thing that you are most proud of working on in computer science?
I would say we had a lot of projects for kind of that were game style. So one main one was a Pac-Man game, and we just programmed it so that you could move your Pac-Man icon along the screen. And I just liked anything we made similar to that. Another one we made was the boat game, and you could follow along like kind of an ocean until you hit a wall, and then it would bounce you back to the beginning. And having to code that was really cool because you'd have to do like if this then this and kind of figure out like you have to error trap and figure out how to like if this happens then oh no, like that's an error, so you have to go back. And then Another one we did was Etch-a-Sketch. Anything that used like a pen, I would always use like pretty colors. And so I could program it to write my name or just write anybody's name based on the input. So anything with that, using like block coding was very interesting. And then using Python, like creating a calculator was really cool. Like I wouldn't need a physical device if I could just pull up a program. That was also really nice.
Awesome. Ephraim, talk to me about something that you've created.
All right, so I'll talk about like one of my biggest projects that like I'm really proud of, which is I created like this sneaker kind of checkout automation program. And basically, I know like a big thing that's popular right now is all of these sneakers, but a big problem with that is kind of these stock amounts and not being able to actually get these sneakers. So for me, like my love of sneakers and kind of not seeing that problem and not being able to get those sneakers, I was thinking I kind of like backtracked and thought like, what can I do to like solve this problem? So I knew I had like this set of computer science skills that I had built through my AP courses, and I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and kind of like work my way through it, and was able to like make this program that basically just completely sped up this checkout process for me. And it was like really cool to see kind of how different things kind of blend, especially in the computer science field, because I think a lot of the things you learn can really apply to anything, and you can really make anything you want. And I thought that like just working through that and being persistent and perseverance and kind of just drop after drop, just learning to adapt my program to work better and kind of like have this goal in mind was just really cool and like a really fun experience. And again, it kind of just had me reflect on the fact that I was able to really use these skills that I learned in school and kind of build on to my own thing, and something that actually like really mattered to me and something that I thought was like really cool. So the overall, like the experience was really cool. And I think my final product that I had was something that was really functional and affected my life greatly. So
I'm gonna. You're not flexing hard enough on this one, because this one like blew my mind when you gave me a demo, right? So just for the audience, right? It's a checkout app that quickly checks them out to get these rare sneakers when they become available. So to give us an example, let's say you had to do this process manually. How long would it take you from like opening the web page to checkout to get that pair of sneakers?
So one thing you have to do is like always like wait and reload a page. So from the time that like you're able to recognize that this item is like finally loaded up on a page and click and add your size and check out and add all your billing and shipping info, I think even for like an experienced person that's done this over and over again, it could like take like even up to 5 minutes. But for me, like I developed like this whole algorithm almost that would reload the page and recognize obviously from like an input from the user, kind of like these keywords. So it would have like positive and negative keywords that like, oh, like if there's this word, like a negative keyword, like doesn't click on a product that has that keyword, and like a positive keyword looks for the product based on that word. So it'll be able to find this product, click on it, add it to cart, fill in all your info that's already preloaded, like again, from your user input. So basically it'll cut it down to like under 10 seconds. And I've had like checkouts that are like 5, 6, 7 seconds, which is like crazy. I know I should have demoed to Mr. Sean. It was really, it's pretty cool.
So the tool that you created took a 5-minute checkout, which means that you might not get it, to a less than 10-second checkout that happens automatically, and you get a ping from your phone as soon as that thing gets bought. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Sarah, talk to us a little bit about some of the cool stuff you're doing, particularly in biology.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the stuff I do really every day is kind of exploring some biological data. So we look at the structure of your DNA and kind of how that plays into diseases and such, which is really cool. But one of my favorite things is something I did while I was in college and undergrad, and I was majoring in biology, but I tried to incorporate coding into any project I had like any flexibility at all in. So my animal biology class had a very open-ended final project that really could be anything. One person made like a sculpture of a coral reef. So what I did is I also scuba dive, and I was really interested in marine biology, and I noticed that the kelp was kind of disappearing there. and a lot of the fish and other species were also not doing as well. So I thought I'll make a simple little computer game where you're like a little diver and you can kind of collect samples in the ocean and figure out what's wrong, and then you can try a bunch of different solutions and try to make the kelp come back. And there's lots of different paths that are randomly generated, so you get a different problem every time. And it was a ton of fun to make, and it was totally over the top and took way too much work than it should have for that class, but it was so much fun. And then the next year, actually, we had a climate calling festival on campus. And so I just submitted it as part of their media festival, which were usually like videos and things, but they accepted that and chose it as one of the top 10. And so I got to present it in front of the whole school, which was also really cool. And I went to an alumni event in the summer, and there was someone who was a freshman there when I was a senior. And I was talking to her and she goes, "Did you make that video game about kelp?" So it was something that really impacted people and that they remember. And so just tying in computer science into whatever you're passionate about, and people will kind of remember it for years.
Oh, that's so exciting. I love so much. Every time I talk to you, I enjoy hearing your excitement for how these different fields just come together, and how, like, absent you having a passion for Excel and PowerPoint accidentally, right? Like, you would have never discovered this other passion that you have. So thank you for sharing that. So in a second, we're gonna transition a little bit. So I wanna go to our last question that I'm gonna facilitate. So particularly, we're gonna start with our college students. Would love for you to just take a second to share with us, how are you currently using CS? How do you plan to use computer science in your future? Just like, what are you thinking in terms of like what happens post-college? We'll start with you, Joseph.
Okay, so yeah, right now I'm in my second year of computer science, and I'm really focused on getting into the software development field. I actually have an internship lined up at Google for me next summer, which is it's actually Google STEP, a program for first and second year computer science students, and it's focused on software engineering, which is really awesome. After college, I probably will become a software engineer. Who knows? Maybe at Google, maybe at College Board. I take both.
Come on down.
Yeah, and so later on, after maybe working in the software engineer industry for about like 10 to 15 years, I plan on teaching computer science, or AP computer science, actually, in fact, in high school. So that's kind of my plan for the future.
Excellent. Sarah?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing now. I know I had no idea what a PhD was when I was in college. All my professors had them, so I had some resources to reach out to and say, what does this entail? What does that mean? And basically, I took classes for 1 or 2 years about kind of the basics of learning different computational skills and how to apply them to biology. And then now what I do is just full-time research. So I'm working on a couple projects. I'm working on interesting research concepts about your DNA, and I joined a lab, so I have like coworkers who are doing a very similar thing. There's a professor in charge of the lab, and everything is super collaborative. So I really have this opportunity to explore and to really make an impact on the biological field, because what I do is I create packages and tools for other scientists to use to make their jobs a little easier. So I really love doing that and kind of getting to explore the biological side, but also create something that other people can use. And I'm also interested in teaching. Right now, my plan is to teach at a university, maybe 1 or 2 courses, and then also full-time keep doing this research and keep making these kind of tools that scientists can use.
Excellent. So for the crowd, and I'm sure there are people in the crowd who maybe have not heard of a PhD before. What is a PhD, and how do you get one?
Yeah, so a PhD is kind of another word for a doctorate. So if you have someone who's like a doctor, but not a medical doctor, usually they have a PhD. And it's kind of just like you show expertise in your field, and you have to show that you contribute to the field. So things like you usually write a dissertation, which is several pages long. The ones in science are a little shorter than the ones in like history or English. But basically we write about our projects and what we explored. And then there's kind of a panel of other professors who have PhDs, and they get to decide like if you pass or not. But generally once you get to that level, everyone passes because there are a ton of checkpoints along the way. But you have a lot of support. And the cool thing about PhDs in science is that you're paid for them. So we get a stipend. We don't have any extra loans going into working on a PhD. It's not as much money as like going straight into software engineering, but it's enough to do something that you love. And then you really get something really great out of it with this degree afterward.
So someday soon we'll call you Dr. Sarah, and you'll be potentially a professor, potentially doing some research and contributing to the field of knowledge and building new things that people have never seen, heard of, or thought of before. That's incredible. Thank you for doing that. Sahana, do you want to share us a little bit about what you're thinking for your future and how CS might play a role?
Yeah, so as I said before, I'm currently a high school senior, so I don't have as much experience sort of in the industry and in the field as Joseph and Sarah had mentioned. But over this last summer, I had actually an unpaid internship at a artificial intelligence company. And so basically I worked on a software engineering team, and I was able to combine sort of artificial intelligence and software engineering to create an engine, which is actually in production at that company right now. So that's pretty cool. And I plan to major in computer science, and sort of the path that I'm thinking about right now is go into software engineering, maybe right out of college, and then go back for like post-grad degree and do some research as well.
Thank you. All right, folks, so we are going to shift gears a little bit. We saw all the questions that are coming in. It looks like Crystal is reconnected to the internet. So we're going to go back to Crystal. She's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the foundational components, like what is computer science, what is this particular course that we're talking about, and then we'll come back together and we'll do some Q&A, and we'll curate some of the questions that have come in the chat. So Yasmin, feel free to switch us back to Crystal and our slides.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Totally lost internet connection while I was talking. Some of the questions that are coming in that are, I guess, good for everyone to hear is, yes, this is recorded. Yes, you'll get a recording link sent to your registration email, and it will be posted online. Some people talked about wanting to share this with their sons and daughters that, you know, didn't have a chance to watch it with them. So absolutely, please share with them. The other thing is that lots of questions about what is computer science, which was supposed to be my part before we talked about, before the panelists shared their experience. So that's what we're going to do next. And I appreciate your patience and your forgiveness over my technical difficulties. I think what we'll do is we will kick things off with a video. So if we can run the video now, and then we'll get into what specifically is computer science principles.
I see computer science everywhere.
Smart medicine that can monitor your body.
National security issues.
Sonar technology to view the inside of your body.
It's saving lives. It's helping people.
Computers have transformed everything we do.
Computer science principles is a broad introduction to computer science.
It's not about syntax, it's about creativity.
They can read and understand how the internet functions.
By the time the course is over, they'll have several apps that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for their learning.
I ask my students to look at the world and to think about things that are in their world in terms of data.
They can actually understand how instructions are given to the computer.
We went from talking about how the internet travels and how computers started to where the first computer bug came from. An actual bug.
I have people from the basketball team, football team, people in interior design, theater, tech people. Somebody takes my class, they're in the band, they want to learn about music, I'll teach it to them on a program that has to do with music.
I felt like I was in the studio just making a hit for everyone. This is what I've been waiting for forever. Just showing your flavor, just showing everything through code is just amazing.
Being able to press, enter or run and see my world pop up.
It's just like painting or drawing.
That cursor is your paintbrush.
A lot of girls are intimidated because they see computers as like a guy thing. If more girls were encouraged, then that wouldn't be an issue anymore.
You don't even think you're creative And then you have a course that makes you see yourself as creative.
It kind of feels like a new light has turned on.
I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned how creative I actually could be.
Computer science, I feel like, has really helped me with my confidence.
The biggest change I see in students is their confidence.
This class teaches kids how to think.
Computer science can empower. Computer science is a source of making that could lead to that power.
My friend and I, we just look at each other, we're like, oh my God, we finally got the code.
We have breakthroughs, we make discoveries.
Using apps, I kind of think of the behind the scenes aspect, how someone might have built it.
A bunch of ones and zeros did that.
Coming into that class and seeing I can design my own thing is such a powerful thing. Awesome.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little taste of what we're going to talk about with computer science principles. So what is computer science? Computer science is the foundation of all computing disciplines. So it's a very broad term. It involves the design and development of software or applications, often called programs. If you use a smartphone, you are using programs every day on your smartphone. Those are the apps that you're using. They either are entertaining you because they're games, or they're helping you live your life and solve problems for you. And that's what we're doing primarily with computer science, but it also intersects with machine learning, networking, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, virtual reality, cybersecurity, and many more areas. And you heard from these wonderful students about the ways in which they're using computer science. So it's not just about creating applications, but how it's crossing with other fields like the medical field and biology and art, and you saw in the video music, and all different places where you are seeing computer science come into play. So what can you do? You can be creative in this class. You can use your creativity to build programs that are interesting to you. You can apply skills to a wide variety of fields and interests, challenge yourself and gain confidence in your problem-solving abilities, explore ways to help your community through technology, gain skills that are highly valued by colleges and employers. And we have a strong emphasis on collaboration. So work collaboratively to solve real world problems. So what are some of the benefits? These statistics, I think I said it, maybe I was still on, maybe I was cut off, but I've taught computer science for 17 years. And I feel like these statistics just continuously endure year over year, this ever increasing work demand. 9 million STEM jobs available in the next decade. I feel like I've been stating some statistics similar to that for 17 years. It's just not going away. It is so ingrained and embedded in our society. It's just going to continue to grow. We have these projections of growth of 11% between 2019 and 2029, making it one of the fastest growing occupations, with 500,000 new jobs and the strong emphasis on cloud computing, big data, and now, even more importantly, you see it all the time, information security and cybersecurity. We also know that students who major in computer science earn up to 40% more than average college students. So we want to make sure that you are able to take advantage of this if this is something that interests you as well. We have research findings, and you can go to this link at the bottom and you can read all about this. But this is just a summary for you all, especially for you parents, about some of the things that we're finding with computer science principal students. So we kind of follow them through high school and into college. And what we're finding is that AP Computer Science Principles is often the first AP STEM course for the majority of students. It also, AP Computer Science Principal students are also more likely to take another AP STEM or other AP CS courses in high school. And then they're more likely to major in STEM and CS in college. And one of the things that I experienced as a teacher, and I think you heard today, is a lot of times students have no idea what computer science is, what doors can be open to them, whether they're going to like it or not, until they take this class. And then they're able to see where this could potentially fit in. And it opens doors. It just broadens their perspectives as to what they can do in the future with with their lives. So I'm all about that for high school. High school is a time for students to explore, for them to try new things, figure out what they want to do with their life before they're, switching their major 4 or 5 times in college. Try it, see if you like it. If you don't, at least you learned a little something, a skill that you may be able to apply tangentially to whatever career field you do choose. We're super excited at the College Board because when we added computer science principles to our course offerings, we have seen that we are reaching more and more students every year. Right now, in 2022, we reached over 212,000 students with computer science. So we're expanding access to computer science education. That makes us feel great because of all those benefits that we just talked about for students. But also we're seeing trends where we're broadening participation among female students, among our Black and Hispanic population, our students who are the first ones in their families to go off to college. And those are all the students that we really want to make sure are also reaping the benefits of computer science. When we live in a world where our technology is created by a wider, diverse set of voices, everyone benefits, because that means solutions will fit a wider demographic of people. So we want to make sure that when we go to solve the problems for the world, we have people of all races, all ethnicities, all genders at the table so that they can bring their own unique perspectives and help solve a problem for everyone instead of just one individual race or one individual gender. So we need more females, more diversity in the field of computer science so that we have better innovations that serve all people. Okay, let's get into the course and exam details because lots of people had questions about this and I felt bad that I lost connection. So we do have 2 AP Computer Science courses at the College Board. AP Computer Science Principles, which is what this session is about. Tomorrow, we're going to have another panel that's going to talk about AP Computer Science A. What's the difference between these 2 courses? So AP Computer Science Principles is considered a breadth course. We have these big ideas in computer science, including programming, and we're going to get to the specifics about what those are, and they're woven throughout the course. Computer Science A takes that one big idea of programming and takes a deep dive into programming and gives students a really strong foundation in the Java programming language. In computer science principles, we leave the programming language up to the teacher. So it's a teacher choice. And that's because some schools, their students have more of a background in computer science based on what programs are in their elementary and middle schools coming into high school. And some schools, they don't have anything. And so this is really their very first experience with computer science. And so it allows teachers the flexibility to choose a programming language that's going to meet their students where they're at and grow those skills. The assessment for computer science principles, there is a multiple choice component, but then Sean mentioned, we do have a performance task that is administered during class by the teacher, and the students submit the artifacts at the end. My slides jumped on me. So the students will learn creative problem solving in this course. They will also be looking at large data sets and analyzing large data sets. Programming, of course, is part of it, but then also how the internet works and important cybersecurity issues are part of this course. And then because we want students to be thinking not just of the problem that they're currently trying to solve, but what other impacts those computing innovations could have, beneficial or potentially harmful impacts, so that they are able to put safeguards and rails around that. We're trying to make sure that we talk about the impact of computing that goes beyond the intended purpose for innovations. So what does the exam look like? 70 multiple choice questions. There are single select and multi-select questions, which means students pick 2 choices. That is 70% of their grade. They sit for an AP exam in May, and it's 120 minutes. And then there's this Create Performance task that they take. And the Create Performance task is 30% of their grade. And students have 12 hours at least in class to complete that. They can complete the programming part of it collaboratively with a peer, and then there are some written responses that they have to do independently. and we're going to see if my animation works out, but I included some of the programs that students have developed in the past. So this is one that we saw a few years ago where students decided to recreate their Connect 4 game. So we see games. This app here helps people to determine what movie they might want to watch. Here's a game where a student developed this to help increase your hand-eye coordination. So it's a little target game, and those targets move around on the screen, and you have to click the bullseye. One student decided to help others learn a new language. It's a little bit simplistic. It's just about colors, but this is like a first step for them. You can learn French, you can learn Spanish. Another student wanted to help students with their typing skills, and so they put together a little typing game. Another student wanted to help with the environment. So it's certain tasks, and you put in your time, and you tell whether or not that's helping the environment or not helping the environment. And then lastly, challenge of screen time and having too much screen time. And so this is like a screen-free challenge. And so it would pop up activities such as write a letter and kind of lock out things for a set amount of time. So those are some of the projects we've seen. Students are able to develop any project that they choose. So starting with, whatever is enticing to them and makes them passionate about computer science, that's what they do. So hopefully that helps answer some of those questions about like, what is this course? And let's get into the Q&A here.
Excellent. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal, since you are still here, would love for you to take our first question if we can bring Crystal back. And it's a question the question is there an ideal time, like a ideal grade for a student to take AP CSP? Particularly this parent is as a parent of a senior, and she wants to know, is it too late for my kid to take this course?
Yeah, so, senior this year.
Next year.
Senior next year. Okay, great. No, there's still time for your child to take the course if they're a senior. They're going to be a senior next year. This course is taken by freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. The majority of students who take all AP classes are typically juniors and seniors, and we see that as the case in CSP also. What we would say from a College Board perspective is this is a college level course, and so we want to make sure that students are college ready to take an AP course. Now, that said, as a senior who's going to then go off to college the next year, let's hope that they're pretty close to college ready as a senior in high school, because they're not far from that. So I would encourage them to take this. This is, like I said, for a lot of students, this is the first AP STEM course that they take is AP Computer Science Principles. So it might be a great course for them to take to understand the level of rigor that's going to be expected at the college level, and take it in that environment in high school where your class sizes are smaller, where you're taking it over a year versus a semester, all those benefits that you get from being in a high school classroom where you have a connection with the teacher and you can ask good questions. I think some of the panelists talked about, sometimes the class sizes are larger in college and things like that. So, take it in high school so that you get all the benefits of the environment of being in high school.
Thank you. I'm going to take two responses from y'all on this first question. So when we were doing the panel, a lot of you said one of the most important components of you being successful in the class is that you took it with some friends. Joseph took it with his sister. Someone asked, what if none of my friends want to take this class? Should I still take it? What are your responses to that? What would you do are you still going to be able to take the class if you are going into the class solo?
Can I take this question?
Please.
Okay, so I actually went into computer science principles not knowing a single person in that entire class. And I actually made like 3 of my friends who I still talk to today. And I took it as a freshman, so that was 4 years ago. And I still talk to them now. And we're all really close. And so, yes, 100%, even if you don't know anyone, I still say take the class. And I think if you go into it with an open mind, and yeah, it's a little scary to go into a class without knowing anyone, But at the same time, like, you're all there because you want to learn comp sci. So at some point, that class sort of becomes its own little like comp sci community, and you're gonna find somebody. Like, you're gonna find somebody. You're gonna find the whole class basically. So I would say 100% take it anyway.
I want to build a little bit on what you're saying, because I think sometimes when we are in a situation where we feel intimidated, we feel like we're the only one. And we feel like we are the only one struggling and everyone's doing so well, and I can't ask any questions and I can't talk to anyone and I can't tell anyone that I'm struggling. But the reality is everybody's struggling because it's hard and because it's new, right? So one of the things that I like to tell young people is like, don't struggle, don't suffer in silence. Speak up, and you'll recognize that there are a lot of people who are sharing the same challenges that you are, have the same questions that you have, and you'll notice that a lot of people just gave some head nods. So I cannot be wrong if everyone is agreeing with me here. Anyone else want to chime in on this question of like, I don't have any friends who are taking this class with me. What do I do?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and add on. So like, if you're going to college, like if you plan on going to college, which I assume most of you guys are, it'll get you ready for college. I'd say if you were going to go into a class without any friends, because college is that brand new environment, and like there's going to be a lot of classes where you don't know anyone at all, and like everything's going to be pretty new, and so you're going to have to like kind of feel things out, and you'll make lots of friends, and you'll get to learn the lay of the land and the environment, and so I guess it kind of prepares you, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. All right, we're almost out of time. I want to put one more question on the floor, and that is, there are some folks who express being intimidated by the workload because it's a different way of thinking, different way of approaching some of their academic work. Any thoughts on how do you manage the workload of AP and AP computer science principles in particular? I'll take 2 responses here from new voices, please.
I can take this one.
Please.
Okay, so I would say one thing is just to take your time, kind of balance it out. I took CSP as a sophomore, and it was only the second AP class that I had taken so far in high school. And it's very project oriented. So I know I stress knowing vocab. So that's just like some flashcards on the side. But for the projects take time, especially when it comes to programming. Like it could be the slightest thing of like missing a semicolon. So just take your time as you're doing your work, doing your projects, and pace yourself kind of. Don't do it all in one day, but also don't stress out if you don't get it on the first day, because you have like ample amount of time to get it done. And it's okay if it takes like a process to get it done, because that's just how programming works.
Yeah. Anyone else want to close this out on this question? Ephraim, I'm coming to you.
All right,
how do you manage the workload?
I was going to say, I think it's definitely important just to kind of like organize your time. I know for me, like my teacher said like a good amount of deadlines for the create task project actually. So she kind of helped us like with each step and each part of like the whole project and its submission. So just being aware of the deadlines and kind of like organizing yourself and kind of just understanding kind of like, as we just were talking about that part, that it's not going to be your first try that you're going to get something. It's going to take you a while. And I guess just like always remind yourself to not be frustrated, ask for help when you need it. And I think if you keep all those things in check, you'll be able to complete everything on time. And I think you'll be pretty happy with your final product and your projects.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right, we have 1 minute left. There's a quick next step slide that we want to talk to you through. Yasmin, would you mind pulling it up? Thank you all to our panelists. We're super grateful for you sharing your wisdom and thoughts today.
All right. Yeah. So if we did not get to your questions, sorry about that. We tried to get through as many as we possibly can. Reach out to your counselors, talk to the computer science teacher at your school, ask them about the course. Some people asked about where can I take it if they don't offer it at my school. There are online classes that you can take to take computer science principles. I would talk with your counselor and see what they have for recommendations. Sometimes if there's enough interest, schools will add a course to their course load. So maybe they don't offer it now, but maybe because you and a group of friends went and asked for it, maybe they'll consider offering it in the future. So what should you do, students and families who came to this webinar? We encourage you to talk together about this course, about AP Computer Science principles, and how taking this course might support your future goals. Where does it fit in? When does it fit in? I have 3 teenagers, so I understand that there's a lot of requirements that you have to fit in, and when is the most appropriate time to take this course is going to be important. Talk to the teachers, talk to the counselors, talk to your school administrators about how to enroll in computer science principles for next year, or if it doesn't fit in next year, maybe when you're a junior or a senior. Talk to other students at your school who have taken the course and learn about their experience, just like you heard from the panelists. Talk to the students that are currently taking the class and who have taken it in the past. And then lots of people asked about credit and placement college policies. So explore where APCSP can take you. Did you know that there are 48 college majors and 130 career areas where you can use skills gained in this course? So there's a link there that you can explore. We have over 900 credit and placement policies at colleges and universities. They vary. So I cannot tell you what it's going to mean for you. You have to explore that on your own. Go to your college that you're interested in website and see. Lots of people ask, should I take both CSP and CSA? My son did. He has credits for both courses, but only the CSA class counts for his specific major. So it really kind of depends on what you're going to go to school for, but he has credits for both. So you just need to kind of explore that on your own. So thank you, panelists. Thank you, Sean, very much. Thank you, parents and students, for attending tonight. Hopefully we'll see you in a CSP course next year.
Thank you. Good night.